Saturday the 1st of August 2020. You might be able to hear some chirping in the background. We're in the spare room in our house at the moment, which is the room that we use for our incubators and for our brooder box as well. Now, about 3 weeks ago we had some quail eggs hatch, so we've got young quail birds in the brooder box. And over the past few days we've also been having more quail chicks hatch, so we've got those in the brooder box as well. We've also got 4 chicks, hen chicks, chicken chicks, in the brooder box, which hatched about 5-6 days ago. And over on our livestock plot we have a broody hen, and she has been sitting on some fake eggs for the past 3 weeks. Now she will be expecting them to be hatching now, and what we're going to do is give her the hen chicks that have hatched here and see if she will adopt them as her own. So as you can see, we've got a considerable difference in the size of the quail chicks. They're absolutely tiny when they're hatched, but they grow very, very rapidly. So there's the hen. She's telling me to keep my distance, and she's in an old oil drum, taking up residence there. And we have one hen that lays in this oil drum, and I suspect it's her. So what we're going to do now is just add in the chicks. So we put 4 in. The first one went straight underneath her wing, and here are the other 3. So we'll just keep an eye on her for the next few minutes to make sure that everything is okay. It is Sunday the 2nd of August 2020 here in our back garden, and we have with us the chicken and the 4 chicks that we put together yesterday. So as you can see, they have taken together. Really pleased about this, but I was expecting it anyway, so we've done this a number of times before, of getting a broody hen to take on some newly hatched chicks. But we've decided to put them in the back garden rather than in the big cage with the other chicks, because I just thought that they're going to be quite vulnerable over there. There's a lot of adult hens in there as well, and they are just basically, they're just much safer here in the cage, in the nursery unit in the back garden. We'll give them about 3 or 4 weeks here in the nursery unit, and then we'll move them over the road to the chick run. It is Sunday the 9th of August 2020. Now, one of my favourite activities I love seeing other people do on the allotment site here is to trim their hedges and trim them big style. And the reason we love that is because their waste is our resource, because all those lovely hedge trimmings, particularly if they're hawthorn, get fed to our goats, and they love them, they thrive on them. And of course, for the people who are cutting their hedge, then having us around is great news for them, because they can cut their hedge and not worry about getting rid of the hedge trimmings. It's their waste, they don't need it, give it to us. Saves them having to incinerate it. So today, Sean, who is one of the allotment holders, has been taking about 1 metre off his hedge. It's quite an extensive hedge, so he did part of it 2 weeks ago. He's done part of it this weekend, and next weekend I think he's going to be doing the rest of it. So we will have a really big food supply for the goats. So we've got it piled up outside the gate, and my reckoning is that I'm hoping this will keep the goats going until Wednesday. So that will save me having to go out and get barrow loads of nettle and willow herb and other things that grow wild and grow locally, all the weeds. So we pick a whole load of barrow loads a day to keep the goats going, and they thrive on it, and it's free food, no carbon footprint to it, no food miles, all locally produced. It's just a case of we have to go out and pick it for them. We're in the livestock plot now, and we fed the goats about 3 hours ago with a huge pile of the hawthorn hedge clippings, and as you can see, all the leaves have been stripped from them, and they are now at the bark eating stage. This is the hedge that has been cut back, and as you can see here, that's the growth at the top that's been taken off. So about a metre, or just over a metre, has come off. And then next week it's the turn of this part of the hedge. It is Monday the 10th of August 2020. This here is the newest of our paddocks that we've had built, and it is nicely overgrown with grass and so on, so it'll make a perfect hay crop, but it's not going to be used for hay. We're going to put the sheep on this. The only thing is we don't have a gate on this paddock yet, so our friend Steve has come up today to build us a gate, and that is now happening. And in the meantime, we've chanced it and let the goats out on the main field. So there are the boys out and about eating the grass and weeds, etc. And we've also brought Sooty up. So he's going to be moving up here soon. So we just brought him up so that the boys can get used to having him around again. And they've really taken no interest in each other, because the thing that has interested them is this extra food that's around. This is ragwort, which grows on our field, a modest quantity of it. It was growing in the paddock that we've just been putting the gate on, and we've been through the paddock now to strip all of it out, because it's a bit toxic for goats, but it's much more poisonous to horses and cattle, and it builds up over a period of time and gives them some kind of liver failure. Not as toxic as I say for goats, but we're not taking the chance, so we are gradually removing it wherever we find it in any of the paddocks. So I can show you the picture now of a paddock that has now been cleared of it. So this is the paddock, and as you can see, none of the yellow stuff in here. Thankfully it is a sort of bright yellow colour, because it really stands out amongst all the other plants, so it's easy to find. And on the other side of the fence you can see various splotches of yellow, and that is ragwort waiting to be removed, and this area here will be the next one where we'll be putting a paddock. Meanwhile, it's time for Sooty to go back home. It is Thursday the 13th of August 2020. Right, when we got hit by the pandemic, the one thing that we weren't expecting was a massive increase in demand for our produce, and there has been a massive increase in demand for things like our eggs, rhubarb and so on, and the one thing that we haven't had a massive increase in demand for is our jam, simply because that was only ever made to be used to be sold at the local craft fairs that we visit in the area. but we still have to make the jam because the crops still keep coming in, the soft cooked crops, and if we didn't convert it into jam, then we could put it in the freezer, I suppose, but the freezers would very rapidly fill up, and really we have to just keep making the jam just to make sure that we've got a supply for hopefully the Christmas markets when they're open, but also to avoid just having so many freezers in operation. But the eggs, this is the one that if we produced 10 times more eggs than we do now, we would still not have enough to satisfy demand. So we took the decision that we need a lot more hens, and it's going to take until next year to get them all hatched or purchased, and our real sort of aim was to hatch as many as we could, and we're doing that, except it's a very slow process, and my hope of getting 100 laying birds, laying hens by the start of next year is going to be missed if we just rely on the chicks that we are hatching ourselves. And given that there's a bit of a tension between putting eggs in the incubator and selling them because there's such a demand for them, then if we did manage to hatch all the chicks that we needed, we'd have no eggs to sell this year. So I've taken the decision we're going to have to start buying in eggs. So I'm off to Durham Hens now. They have 7 chicks that they have put aside for us. They're more expensive than they have been in the past, but that's to be expected in these circumstances. So they're £10 each. So we're getting 6 hens and 1 cockerel. The cockerel comes free. Obviously, if I were to pay for the 100 hens that we need as chicks, then that's £1,000 we'd need to spend, and it'll be ages before we'd recoup that amount of money. So we're not splashing out big style at Durham Hens, but we are increasing our numbers by a modest amount. So 7 chicks, and they will go into the cage in the back garden where we have the hen who is brooding 4 chicks at the moment. I've just arrived, and they've been given to me in this small box here, which I'm not going to open at the moment, which rather means I didn't need to bring the cat box. Right, there they are now in the nursery unit in the back garden with the hen that's got the 4 chicks from last week. So hopefully she'll adopt them as easily as she did with the older ones last week. So there's 2 breeds here. There's columbines, which lay bluish green eggs, and blacktails, and we've also included a columbine cockerel as well, so we can breed our own next year. Well, there are the chicks now in the corner of the brood box that we've got in the house. Sadly, the hen didn't take too kindly to them, nestling in on her chicks and her cage, so she gave a few of them pretty hard pecks. So we decided it was safer to remove them and put them in the brooder box, which at the minute has lots of quail in it. The aim is to have 100 laying birds next year, and we've taken another step towards that, but we've still got a long way to go to get to the numbers that we actually want. It is Saturday the 15th of August 2020. Right, a few weeks ago we got some ducklings, some Aylesbury's, and then a couple of weeks later we got some Quail ducks, again ducklings. We set up the duckling run on our livestock plot because the ducklings in the back garden had outgrown the nursery pen they were in, and now the ducklings in the duckling run have outgrown that. So this is the duckling run, and as you can see, some of the ducks are there, and you'll also be able to see that on the ground they are turning it into mud. So now that they have grown to a reasonable size, we're going to let the ducklings out, which just amounts to really just opening that gate at the end. So I've just opened the gate now. It'll be a while yet before the ducklings make a move, but at some point soon they will come out. This is where most of them are, and I suspect very rapidly chickens and ducks from the other side will come in. Well, as you can see, it hasn't taken long for the chickens to make their way into the duck run. Well, it looks as though the ducklings are starting to emerge. First few have already come through the gate. Well, this lot seem to be a bit more adventurous. Oh, hold on. Something sent them back. It is Sunday the 16th of August 2020. I'm on Paddock 3 on our small holding. This was our newest paddock that was put in just a couple of weeks ago. Actually, slightly more than a couple of weeks ago, but nevertheless, as you can see, this is full of lovely and gorgeous grass just waiting to be eaten by the sheep. And actually there's one of the sheep now, because we managed to walk her down here from the top paddock where the sheep are at the moment, and we put her on a lead, and I was amazed that we managed to do that so easily, but they need to be in here because up in paddock 1 where they are at the moment, they've exhausted the food supply, but as you can see, it'll take quite some time to get through this lot. You might just be able to see the sheep up there in paddock 1. And this is the second one now, which we managed to get on a lead, and she's stopping off for a bite to eat. Right, that's the second one. Ethel now in here, and the other one, which is Edna, is right over in the corner there. Now, as you can now see, after a struggle, we have managed to get the other two in here as well. And we used these fencing panels that we're going to use to build a shelter to create a corridor along with the Land Rover and part of the pen, or the pen panels that we use when we take the kids, the goat kids, to local fairs. And as you can see, here they are back again, chomping their way through food. All we've got to do now is round up the goats that we let out. Right, having got a couple of friends in to help us, David's taking them back in the Land Rover, and I'm going to have a quick check through the paddock here. I removed the ragwort the other day but I've got a few ferns here. I'm going to remove them as well because I think they're likely to be toxic. The sheep probably won't eat them, but I'm not going to take the chance. And as you can see, the boys are back in the paddock. It is Monday the 17th of August 2020. You might be able to recognise the what's behind me. It's the vets who just arrived here. Bubble is she was fine until this afternoon. She was eating merrily until about I last checked on her around about 4 o'clock. Then went home, did various things, came back to check on the animals again at 7 o'clock, and I noticed she had a bit of foam on her mouth. She'd separated herself off from the rest of the group, and then shortly after that she was vomiting quite heavily. We think she's eaten something in the feeds today. We're not quite sure what it would be. Certainly wouldn't be rhododendron, which is what we've previously experienced. They were fed hedge trimmings from the Winnie's community garden, and there may be an odd bit of honeysuckle in there. So we think that might be what she's got. Anyway, we brought her into the vets just to get her checked out and see if she needs any medication. And she's in there now because we're not allowed to go in because of the COVID restrictions. So she's in there by herself. I don't think it's massively serious, but we thought we'd just better get her checked out. Better safe than sorry. Well, here she is back in the Land Rover, and looking a bit brighter actually. So she's had some medication, and we've got to give her liquid paraffin when we get home, and give it a 3 times tomorrow as well. It is Tuesday the 18th of August 2020. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning to check on Bubble, the nanny goat that was poorly yesterday, and she kind of seemed okay at 5:30. Didn't look like she'd been vomiting, and she had a little bit of a nibble at some willow herb that I gave to the goats. And I've come back now to check on her again, and it's now around about midday. I have to say I'm not particularly happy with her condition. She seems to have started vomiting again. Now it may be because we've given her the liquid paraffin, but there again she was vomiting before that because I could see it on her face. So if she's not better or not showing signs of recovery by 5 o'clock, we'll have to take her back to the vet. She was vomiting just a moment ago, and you can see it on her lips there. It's about to turn 9 o'clock in the evening, and I'm just heading over to do the lock-up, and just thought I'd catch up with about Bubble. I'm pleased to say that after a sort of concerned patch this morning and early this afternoon, this evening she seems to have improved considerably and is now eating again. So as far as I'm concerned, that's always a good sign. So we were due to give her a couple more shots of liquid paraffin, but I've taken the decision not to do that because I think if they are clearly improving, then I would prefer to avoid giving them an additional and unnecessary medication. So here she is in the goat house. Obviously it's a bit dark now, so I'm having to use the torch, but she is a lot happier than she was this time last night. Just giving the goats a bit of willow herb, and as you can see, Bubble is chomping her way through it. At least it was until City arrived. It is Wednesday the 19th of August 2020. In our quail house at the moment, and the reason why is because we have been hatching quail reasonably recently, and here are 6 of them ready to go into the quail house. We have another 10 back home. They were all in the brooder box along with the 7 chicks that we bought last week. The problem was the quail grow very rapidly, and they were outgrowing the box, so it was getting too crowded. So we decided that the bigger quail, the 6 of the 16, needed to come over here and go into the quail house. So here we go. So we'll just leave them to come out at their own rate, and they're not going to get out with that door closing. So let's turn around a bit. First one coming out. We've ringed them. So any new bird that we have this year, whether it's quail, duck or chicken, will have a green leg ring. Out. There'll be a bit of a pecking order which will need to establish itself. Okay, I'm going to leave them to it, let them come out at their own rate, and in the meantime I'm going to pop up to the main field and check on the sheep and the billy goats. Well, I've just arrived at the field, and Edna has just appeared from underneath the temporary shelter, and I don't know whether it was her or one of the others who's rather knocked it about a bit, but she was underneath it, and we've got, talking of panels, we've temporarily put these panels up on the goat paddock, so the goats are there, the billies, and there are the panels because Sunny and Perky got out yesterday. Didn't go far, just on the other side of the hedge there. But I could see them as I was walking over the field right over there, because they stand out. So David and I put these panels up temporarily whilst we sort out the fence. In the meantime, the sheep have discovered the sacks of hay and are having a bit of a feast, which is a bit annoying because this was meant to be for their winter fodder, but they are having quite a feast on it now. We're at the top end of our main field. Last week I was using a strimmer with a blade on, not with a the string, but with the blade, to cut the grass up here and to make a hay crop. And I did that for about 3 days, just an hour a day. And of course by Friday it started to rain, so I couldn't gather in the hay. So the danger now is that if we do gather it in and put it into store, then it'll just rot because it's probably dried out. So I'm going around gathering armfuls a day to feed to the goats, to supplement what's growing in their paddock, which they're about 90% of the way through eating all the vegetation down there. But it has been, up here it's going to be quite a good hay crop. It's just a case of trying to get it in. Now we don't need vast quantities of hay. We just need enough to get ourselves through the winter. But we'll be looking to have the goats out on pasture anyway. So if we do manage to fail to get the rest of a hay crop in, then it'll cause us sort of problems, but only at the edges. But even so, if we want to be fully self-sufficient, then yeah, we will need to get a bit more of a hay crop in. The problem is, weather forecast says more rain is approaching, so I'm looking around now thinking, if we could only have 5 days more, a 5-day period without any rain, then we'd get all the hay in that we needed. So I'm still watching the weather forecast. I've gathered up this armful here, and I'm going to give this to the goats now. Right, I'm back now in the quail house, and all the quail have come out of the box. So actually there's one there. Spot it with the green ring on its leg, and there are other ones around elsewhere. Oh, there's another one, slightly smaller one, that one. So it looks as though they've settled in quite well. Back in the kitchen now, and we've got lots of quail eggs to use up. But outside the house at the front, we converted our drive earlier this year into a potato patch, and we're going to have a go at harvesting some of those potatoes. So these are the potato bags. We've got about 20 of them, covering most of our front half of the drive, the half in front of the living room window. So we're just going to use one of these bags tonight just to test it out. So this one here is the one that will empty out. So this is the crop, looking really good. Well, that's from 2 plants, and a slightly disappointing quantity, but I think the problem was that the soil was very dry, and what we'll do is leave these, the rest of the potatoes to grow for a few more weeks, water them a bit more regularly, and that way the potatoes should fatten up a bit. I've used the potatoes to make a salad with some quail eggs, which we have a reasonable quantity of, and potatoes are really lovely. I've added in a few veggie sausages, and a little bit of that is green tomato marmalade, which goes really well with savoury stuff, and sprinkling of mixed herbs. So I've got to confess it wasn't entirely self-sufficient because the veggie sausages were bought, but the quail eggs and the potatoes and the green tomato marmalade produced by us. It is Friday the 21st of August 2020. Spent today, or part of today, making ketchup. Here's one of the bottles. It's made from the pulp that's left over when we make jelly, so it's a soft fruit, mainly gooseberry, but also red currant and blackcurrant. We've gone into that as well. But basically, the pulp that's left over is we strain, we boil up the pulp, strain it through a jelly bag, and at that point, the pulp is basically most people would treat it as waste, whereas we treat it as something that can be made into something else. So I press it through a sieve, get a fruit puree from it, put it into the jam pan with a bit of vinegar and a bit of sugar and a pinch of salt, and it makes this absolutely gorgeous ketchup. And this one's got a really lovely tangy taste to it. Fantastic with smoked food, particularly mackerel. So I've got a little bowl of it here. So shouldn't have put my finger in it, but hey. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. It is Saturday the 22nd of August 2020. This afternoon we spent 2 hours walking around the hedgerows around the small holding, picking a big quantity of blackberries. And that's the main soft fruit that is ripe and ready for picking at the minute. And we've also, a lot of apples are ready for picking as well. But a bucket full of blackberries picked today, and bubbling in the pan in front of me is a pulp of blackberries and gooseberries. So this has been simmering away for about an hour and a half now. The gooseberries, it's just part of that huge crop that we had in the summer, so we're getting through our last bucket of gooseberries at the moment, and there's still half a bucket left to go. But the thing about gooseberries is that they've got the pectin in, blackberries don't, so the blackberries will, the gooseberries will help this to set. Now what we're going to do is strain this and use it to make a jelly, and then the remaining pulp that's left after it's been strained will be put through a sieve to make a fruit puree. Now we can turn that into a jam, or, as I've been doing recently, turn it into a ketchup. So decisions still to be made on that. As well as gooseberries still being left over, we have half a bucket of blackberries still to use up. So tomorrow I'm going to set away another Kilner jar of blackberry gin. It is Monday the 24th of August 2020. As you can see, we're in the Land Rover. We are heading south to North Yorkshire, to somewhere near Whitby, because we are buying a ram. Right, so here he is, the magnificent beast that he is, ready to go up to Gateshead. Well, it's nearly 9 o'clock in the evening, and we've put him in. We've given him the name Rex. The four girls have come over to investigate. They seem very interested in him. and he is sniffing around them as well. Actually, the girls are being, shall we say, not being a pushover with them. One or two of them have headbutted him, but this is a lot calmer than I was expecting. So that's the sheep. Unfortunately, we've got a problem with the goats. I got a message when we were nearly at Yorkshire to get the ram, telling us that our 3 billies had got out. So there's nothing we could do at that point. So we've now got back, and we can't find them anywhere. I'm really worried, really worried. And what little light we've had left, we've tried to use to find them. We've walked all over the place, and we just can't find them. I suspect they're hunkered down somewhere for the night, so we're going to come back first thing in the morning at first light to see if we can spot them. It's Tuesday the 25th of August 2020. This morning it tipped it down, so we got absolute soaking when we went out looking for the goats. We didn't find them. I got home, posted up some messages on social media, on Facebook, which were widely shared by people. Thank you very much, everybody. And then, about an hour ago, somebody came through with some photos. Not a direct response to any of my messages, but photos with a person saying if anybody's lost 3 goats, they're in Ravensworth Woods. So I was able to contact this lady, who, because she was it was brought to her attention by other people who'd shared my message. So she sent me a note to say they're in Ravensworth Woods, which is where we are now. If you go in, follow the road along, eventually find them on the right. The thing is, we've followed this road for a monumental distance. There's no sign of them. So we're heading our way back to the gate now, and we're going to see if there's actually other gates that she might have meant, or see whether we can spot them on the way back. We'll see what happens. Okay, right. After a long struggle, we've got them. Hey, there you go. Yes, back on TV. Yeah, we're on one of the stables on the Silver Hills Road, between Sunnyside and Lemsley, and the lady who spotted them in the woods was able to catch up with me, and we've come here to get our boys, and they're not going back to their paddock tonight. We're going to put them in the far side tonight, which is much more secure, and tomorrow we'll look at fixing the fencing on the paddock on our main field. So there are the naughty boys in the back of the Land Rover. So for tonight we're going to put them onto the far side. That's a very secure plot, because we had Perky and Snow in there for quite a few months, so we know that it holds them. And tomorrow we'll get over onto the field and repair the fence. So here they are in the much more secure far side paddock, and as I say, we'll do repairs to the goat paddock on the main field tomorrow. It's Thursday the 27th of August 2020. We are up here on the main field in the goat paddock, and given the what's happened over the last few days, we are here making the fence even more secure. We're not going to finish today though, so the boys will have to stay on the secure paddock for the time being, but we've put we've had temporary fencing on the goat paddock for some time, and we've simply been adding to it, but eventually we will replace it with proper livestock fencing. And somebody gave us an idea, our friend Michael, about electric fencing, which could be run from a solar panel and just one wire along the fence. So we need to keep the goats off. So that's something we're going to actively check out. So we're putting the panels right along the whole length of the paddock, and we've got 2 gaps, as you can see there. So the job for tomorrow is to get them filled. So the 3 boys are in the secure paddock on the far side, part of the small holding, what we call the far side, and it's highly likely that Perky won't be coming back up here because we have a job for him. We need to get Bubble mated. Bubble is our new milking goat, and obviously with the loss of Squeak, the Anglo-Nubian billy that we bought with Bubble, then that means Perky is being called upon to do the honours this time round. And we're also going to put in with him Gertie, and she is one of the goats that was born last year, and she has the markings of a British Alpine. Now the point is that the British Alpines are milking breeds. Now she is a crossbreed. She's all sorts of different breeds have gone into her, but we are hoping that if she is showing the characteristics of the appearance of a British Alpine, then she may well turn out to be a milker as well. The other nannies, we are not at the moment going to get them mated because we don't really feel that there's a massive outlet for goat food or goat meat at the moment, but we're going to explore the possible markets for that. But at the moment, the other nannies will be kept billy free. It is Wednesday, the 26th of August 2020. Yesterday, when we were searching in vain at that point for the goats, we found a young deer that had injured itself quite badly on the woodland near to our main field, and she'd obviously jumped a fence but got caught in the barbed wire. So David found her and untangled her, but she had a serious slash right across her stomach, and also very deep cut to the bone on the leg. And it was obvious that she wasn't going to survive. So when we went back to her, well, we made her comfortable as we could, but when we went back to her a short while later, she was dead. So out of that loss, we can at least get something. So we are taking the animal, the carcass, to a game butcher's near Hexham. We've just taken out removed the contents or removed the stomach and the innards, and this young deer, and we think it was one that was probably born this spring, we are about to head off with to Acombe near Hexham. Well, we're here at the butcher's, looking at the building. It looks rather boarded up, so I'm hoping I've got here in time. Well, they are open, and they have taken the deer. Right, so we're going to be ready on Tuesday. So, fresh venison after that. It is Saturday the 28th of August 2020. I'm on our far side plot where we put the boys the other day after their unexpected departure and return, and we have been working to get their fence into a better shape on their paddock on the main field. However, although we are nearly ready to take the goats back, one of them is staying. Sunny and Snow will be returning later today to the main field, to the paddock there, but Perky here is going to be moved to our near side plot, and the reason is because he's got some work to do. And that it is to be the stud for the girls over there. So here he is in with the girls. We're expecting them to get a little bit excited to start with, but he'll calm down after a while. There's one boy in here as well, one other boy. That's Sooty there, the little billy goat. He's still a kid. So you don't think Perky will have a problem with him. This is the temporary fence that we've put up on the goat paddock. It really is temporary. It's made up of old fence panels which we're actually going to use for building shelters for the animals. Now you can also probably feel that there's quite a breeze blowing. Not quite a gale, but it is quite a strong wind. So we're not going to put the goats in here today. All that panelling has quite a big surface area, so our fear is that having put the goats in here, the wind could catch the panels, blow them over, and the goats will be out yet again. So we're going to keep them in the far side secure paddock tonight. We'll see what things are like tomorrow. If the wind has died down and the weather forecast is for it to stay low, then we will put them in. If then we get more weather forecasts later that's saying that there's going to be a return of more wind, then we shall move the goats back out and put them in the far side. So do everything we can to avoid a repeat of earlier this week. And what we'll also do is get some permanent fencing sorted for here, because we can't go on like this all the time. So proper livestock fencing like we have for the paddocks up here. So if we can get livestock fencing like that to replace this lot, then I'll be happy, and the sooner we do it the better. Well, we're back now on the near side plot, and Perky is being a lot calmer than I dared expect. So that is good news, but of course he's still got a job to do, and hopefully in 5 months' time or so that will bear results. It is Sunday the 30th of August 2020, back on our main field, indeed I'm in our goat paddock where we were repairing the fences yesterday. So, with a slight element of trepidation, I've brought the two billies, Sunny and Snow, up here, put them back in their paddock, and we are hoping that there will be no repeat of what happened last week when they did the reenactment of the Great Escape. So I've got them some hedge trimmings, one of their favourites. It's hawthorn, so I've got a pile of that, plus some nettle and a bit of elder in there as well. So they don't need, not that they needed to earlier, but they don't need to break out to go and get food. They have plenty here. Like I said, they had plenty previously as well, but they still decided to break out and go exploring.